Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Hello, hi.
Welcome. We are here, all waiting.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions, or is there anything you want to know that we can share?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, we would like to know everything you can share, everything.
You understand we are under restriction by the Chinese authorities, and there is, but we are still trying to keep the status of one nation. The project is totally Keshe Foundation without any what do you call input from the Chinese government, but we are fully under control of His Excellency President Xi's instruction. The office of the president is more or less through our what you call connections, has direct control in what we do, what we can put out. We've been told not to disclose, not to go live, but this is part of the knowledge of the foundation, and this is the progressive development of the Keshe Foundation technology. So it's a very fine line, but in a way, if we do, and what I've seen appropriate to do yesterday to release this information, is that not only we respect the integrity of the decisions of His Excellency the President, but we make a line that's an independent research center. We keep our independence, but we still respect what you call the wishes of the nation. It's a totally Chinese input. It's totally Keshe Foundation supporters. There is nobody outside. But the government and officials are keeping a very close eye on everything. They have a full say, and in that process, I have to keep, in a way, the teaching in line, but at the same time, be able to what you call understand that we do not get closed or dominated by any structure as such. We kept our what we call close what we call development with the Iranian government for past 10 years is what I've signed. I have signed official documents, pages and pages, negotiated over 3 weeks with the Iranian president and Governor Ayatollah Khamenei, which was legislated and signed by the General Attorney, notarized. And in Iran, we have a very tight restriction, as you've seen past 10 years, except the machinery and what we shown test of it in Belgium. We could not disclose anything. I've signed it very tight, very, very tight, holding Iran to peace and not to be used for harming. And Iran also has done. But with Chinese situation, we don't have such a position. It's a Keshe Foundation total development, and it's our assets. But at the same time, we are within the structure of a nation, and we have to respect. And we've been told not to go live or show, but as it's part of the development of the technology, we can speak in so many ways. That's why we put it up. With the Iranian situation, I was given as a gift when I finished the last week in Tehran. His Excellency President Ahmadinejad and His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei send a message that take whatever you need with you. We have got a copy of everything, and you came here, you developed everything so openly. We know you can do more with it, so take it as a gift. So when I left Iran, I came out with even the screws and glues which was needed for the system. They packed everything for me so immaculately, and they shipped it through Iran for me to be able to get it. And as you've seen many of the things, this system is designed by us, is totally designed by the Keshe Foundation team. We have to understand, I have to keep the Chinese authorities fully informed. Yesterday, before we start the testing, we send a message to the, what we call the intermediary minister, that I gave them half an hour notice that we are going for tests within half an hour. Not anything they're aware of. So this is how we work. We have to keep any research we do in this level has to be that way. Every step we achieved something, videos has been sent to the minister directly. This is what they decide, that we don't keep anything, that in records are kept, that there is no ambiguity and there is no, what you call, problems in the future for the foundation. I have worked in this kind of a structure, so I'm fully aware of what needs to be done, that there's no accusation, there is no damage to Keshe Foundation's, what we call knowledge seekers, or to integrity of our work. What we have achieved is one of the most sophisticated systems. It's pre-planned for a space flight. And it's taken us nearly 2 months to build it fully. It's taken us nearly a week to commission it. We've done a lot of tests. We've seen how it behaves, how it maneuvers itself, how it responds to us, how it responds to our mistakes. It adjusts itself. We do things, it shuts itself down, we don't like it, he doesn't like it, it tells us, it comes back on. It's an interactive system. And in the process, we noticed it makes noises, it talks to us. It has a heartbeat. From the time when it started it, it has that emotion we hear in the belly of the mother when you listen to ultrasonic. When you know they put the ultrasonic on the stomach of a mother to listen to the baby inside. We heard that for a few days, and it was interesting. And in the past 24 hours, it has a voice. It talks. It has, we recognize that when it comes, we don't understand it, but it's all been recorded. So there is no thinking of something. Everything is fully recorded. We have 4 live cameras on the site, on the systems. I monitor it directly online. We all monitor it. We can choose any cameras. We can hear, we can see, and we can record everything internally and externally. And it has a life. And as I said to the Keshe Foundation head of research, I said, pray for it before we start. It needs it because it's alive. And now we have to come to respect it. We all respect it because in the future we will release these videos and you can hear it. It's exactly what you hear in the womb of the mother. I've been present with my children's testing and their birth, and I know exactly, when I heard it the first time, it brought tears to me, that how close we have led to creation. And it's amazing. I wish I could play. The recording has been kept. And then in past 24 hours that we decided we are going for the testing, and we are going to interfere and start bringing it to life. We hear voices. We hear clear voices. I even asked the head of the research, do you know this voice? Do you have anything in the background that we can recognize this voice? So it's a live thing and it's running. We have made 2 parallel systems, and these systems each weighs around about, I think, easily 100, 150 kilograms. And it's a very well built structure. We have created a launch pad for it. The system does not sit on its own. It's been placed on a launch pad. We developed a launch pad. You cannot fly any flight system without a launch pad, especially if you start off the ground. When you start a flight path, you have to work off a launch pad in a way that you can what you call separate the flight system from the Earth gravitational field, but at the same time you create a condition that your system become independent of its environment. And the structure is set as a twin system, as is tradition with the space technology. We choose one as a mother and one as a, what you call, the subsidiary as a child, but more or less are loaded that way. Even if you look at the Iranian system, it's two systems, one big one, which is the mother, and then you have the baby. You cannot do this because the reason for it is if you don't have a two separate system, especially when you work from the base center, like what do you call it, like Earth. When we develop in the future, we don't need it, but because we don't land it, you never land a spaceship, you always create a layer that the field of the environment does not touch. And so we have created a launch pads, and the system sits on the launch pad. Launch pads are a massive plasma field. It's strong, very powerful. Every single reactor in this combination of launch pads with a huge number of reactors are individually loaded, and they are controlled in the set, so we can decide which reactor, if it's weak in a star formation, we can feed it from the ground. And we can choose sectors. We can feed sectors. We can decide to feed the center line. We can do, it's a very elaborate, complicated. And the beauty of it is we control everything remote, more or less. We have a remote lines into the systems, and we have, it's taken about God knows how long to program these remote programs done by different companies in China to be there. And it is in so many ways, then we can decide each core, how we can position it, how we can angle it, how we can speed it, and how we can feed it. Then we have a huge new design, which is totally what you call never been done before. We have a control system that we can control huge number of reactors. These systems carry tens of reactors. It's not one or two anymore. It's not what the basic systems you see. Every single core has been loaded one by one according to its position, according to what they're supposed to do. We have systems which can pull in gravity. We have design systems which can create atmospheric, totally independent from each other. As part of the control system, we have sector controls, which means once we take flight, we can decide in what angle, in what speed, in what direction we want to move. And then we can decide even in a further stage what we would like the material of the system to be of. You want to make the system, the outer shape of it to be made of gold or silver, or to be a structure of the skin of the man. I have designed it that all this is possible. And so what we done, we preset, we have launched a lot of things. We tested a lot of it to see how they respond. We've seen if we touch one of the reactors anywhere, the others respond. They don't like it, they shut themselves down, and or they totally burn themselves out. They don't want to do what we tell them. So we learn not to touch. They decide themselves. It's like you're trying to get a child to eat and she closes her mouth. And now, because we have a twin system, we see the results and effect of one system on the other. If we play with something in one reactor and the other one doesn't like it, it shuts himself immediately. So we have to predict the behavior of the flight systems. And it's like a mother and child, and the child is so gorgeous, is so beautiful, very obedient, very playful, but no harm done. But the mother is absolutely outrageous. She does what she likes. She's very grumpy. She shuts herself down. She doesn't like something. We touch somewhere, she closes herself somewhere else. And it doesn't wait that it might happen. Immediately she responds. So has the characteristics we have to follow. And gradually we are getting to know it. Gradually we see it. What I call the baby is picking up the habit of the mother. We see it. Up to now, she wouldn't play that way, but now in past 24 hours, she plays the same game as the mom. And we see it. We touched it this morning. It didn't like it. She shuts herself down. So we have to wait. And they don't understand. The system decides that does not want to go clockwise in some reactors. It doesn't matter what we do with it. It decided that all the reactors will turn clockwise. It's not going to go anti-clockwise. It didn't want to do, which is very unusual. But all the tens of reactors are all going clockwise. We couldn't do it. We tried. It would not respond. And then when we change something with the baby, the mother responds and she changes something. So we see it. It was loaded this way, but it's very interactive. And what we did, we went to build up plasma, building up a plasma in a massive way. The new technology which I've developed for this system, we have not taught it. It's just for me in a way to see the sequence of the loading here and how the material on Earth responds and how it does. So we have achieved the production of the plasma, but as you all know, we say gas is a plasma, but we don't have a spectroscopy on it. We done infrared spectroscopy. The militaries have done many tests. Belgium Nuclear Center has spent nearly, God knows, months and hundreds of thousands of dollars on testing the fuels and gases and everything. But we never had a confirmation of plasma in a way to create light from it. And we have managed to achieve that yesterday. It's a beautiful light. It's what it carries. We have managed to ignite the plasma, and we have videoed all of it, which shows how plasma divides itself to sectors and responds, and which systems respond to higher plasma, lower plasma. And with it, they produce the motion of the gas inside it. And if they don't like the gas liquid amount of it, they spew it out of the system, which is very strange. I was just writing to the research people on the spot in how what is leaked, where and how and why this, where the container is full of water, but is empty of gases. He's pushed his gas out of the block, which is very unusual, where in fact all the gases were stuck to the wall. So we have seen the ignition of light. We have recorded all of it. Now we have seen the position and movement of materials through the forces of the plasma, what we wanted to see. First of all, the ignition of the plasma is consistent with the structure of the material we have put in. And we test now. We are on testing of the flight, getting loaded. It takes us maybe 48 hours to maybe a little bit more to repair some of the damages we did last night. We went relentlessly fast through the process in case something goes wrong. And at the end, the system, when we just gave up, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, we just gave up. We said, okay, leave it. We'll see what it does in the morning. And so there are a lot of, what do you call it, cleanup, but the systems are running. And we expect a full lift and motion and creation of the system as we've seen it. Till we don't learn it, we don't go for it, but we have all the facilities, the system is geared up to do it. And once it's done, the system is independently what we call fueled and independently powered. So it can stay for 24 hours independently running. Large number of motors. There's huge number of motors and reactors involved in this system. It's not just one or two. And in so many ways, the achievement of last night, as I put it on, we have managed to ignite the plasma. So this is the first time confirmation of gases being a plasma, as we said, in a physical condition, because we have managed to create the fields from it, and we have managed to ignite the fields to be sustained to create light and motion. The plasma inside, all the liquid inside are controlled totally by the plasma itself and not by anything else. So a creation of plasma, creation of light from plasma. I have it all. I can just go live on it and show it to you, but I'm sure the Chinese government will go hammering us out. So I don't want to cross that line. In so many ways, we have achieved what we set out, and in next month, till we go for a full test and everything else, we have asked the Chinese government last night to provide us with the facilities to be able to test submerging and newer space to be able to test. But I presume they are more shocked than us that we've gone through it and we are doing it, and they are receiving the videos of it, because we are literally sending videos by video to the government in a direct channel. We don't disclose it, but every achievement is reported to the minister on the direct line, so that there is no ambiguity if any damages or any mishaps or any development is not considered as a hostile or something which is not, because we keep a track with the minister on an hourly basis. When achieved, I give them 30 minutes flight, pre-flight launch time. And if we get no objection, it means we can go ahead. If they object, they told us you cannot show, you cannot broadcast. So, but doesn't mean the knowledge of the foundation cannot be shared. So, any questions? This is as close as I can take you with me to feel it, to understand it. And the rest of it has to stay. One of the guys who came and saw it for the first time, he wrote something very, very special, which really is moving. He wrote, I'll read it for you if I can find it. When the first time he saw the system and he could understand that what the system is able to do, it says, if you have seen the system, you understand it very quickly. That is majestic. It is impressive. It is very, very much, very, very much in line with the development. And the weight is irrelevant, the size is irrelevant, the position is irrelevant, and the system will decide on its own in what it's going to be and how it wants to manifest itself. And in a short time, I'm sure if we twist a little bit here and there, the Chinese authorities will let us share live broadcasting. And this is one of my hopes And one of my wishes that this will happen. The Chinese will allow the knowledge to be shared. Any questions I try to answer, and don't ask too much because then I can't answer. So you got to be diplomatic as much as I am.
I have a question, Mr. Keshe. This is Elizabeth.
And
What is the best way we can support your wish and support the Keshe Foundation Chinese spaceship team?
I think it's very much what I call involvement of the soul of the man, because what we achieve is unique, and as I said, we made a launch pad, but that launch pad is what do you call it? Needs another launch pad, and that is what you run as systems in the background. And this is what you can support, because that's all we need, that's all we can do at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, I think that everybody that was present here gave from their soul, and if we keep on doing this, then we can only see improvement and advancement.
I hope so, but I think what it'll come to is when one of the Keshe Foundation supporters walked into the place, he said, for 10 minutes I had a goosebumps and I was in tears. This system is so majestic. But we have to understand we need a lot of support. And as I said in the teaching yesterday, I speak ahead. At the time when I speak, people don't understand. But if you understand it, we will link up with your systems. We will, if the reactors run, you will see that we can link up. We can easily link up. And we can easily reach that point of what do you call it, the achievement. And in so many ways, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of a very long road, long haul. And it's literally when you see the results of last night, it touches you that the change has come. It's there. It's not a dream or a say, but something very strange happened. I don't know if it makes sense to speak about it, but you will understand. When I saw things yesterday, the way the initial flight was, and the way we saw things developing, to me it was like a deja vu. I've seen this many, many times. And last night, when we finished, it was something like I knew I carry what I carry with me from the past. And he was just teaching or guiding new students to achieve what you already achieved. He brought back with me a lot of things that I know I carry with my soul. And he brought back, this is another set. And to me, I've been in this point and position many, many times, and I could get in touch with the soul which I carry. And it's the same as I saw how the system, two systems, physical and the soul, was running. I could understand the connections in so many ways of, it's just like I've done this so many times, this is another time. And I wrote that to the head of the team in China. I've done this so many times. For me now, it's just natural to do that. I know where it's going to be and what it's going to be. And I know we need the support that the whole humanity moves. There are thousands of these maggraph system dynamic running. We lock into it. It has to lock into, and I can see when the time comes when we are ready, you will see your reactors out of nowhere stopping or running or making a move, which means you have locked into us. We are there. We move. We have shown the precedent of it in the past, as we said in Christmas testing. And we have to see where to go, where we can go. I hope, my biggest wish and my hope is Chinese government will not interfere with us. I have sent a direct request to Minister for permission from the President or the government to allow us to go open. I renewed it last night, and we have to wait and see in how far these people are deciding to be. And I put another request again early this morning that we want a decision from the President. And we'll see. And through my own private channels, through the people who we know, we have made other requests the same, because this thing has to be, we need scientists from international organizations to be with us, because it makes it much easier. And I wait for another 2 or 3 steps, and then maybe I'll do something which I think will be appropriate to do. But I do not know if I will carry, as the head of the Keshe Foundation, as starting to announcing that one nation will change the course. I can see this is quite possible. The development of this technology will allow us to call in world scientists to come in. And if you've been through what I've been in the past, I've seen this happening, and it's brought a lot of breakthrough. I don't know, some of you are very young, don't go back. When Chernobyl happened, the Russians tightened it down. They wouldn't allow anybody in. They tried very hard. We received requests in English nuclear that there is a massive leakage in Chernobyl, and we knew they cannot contain. Friends inside the British nuclear FLIO requested if I can go back in. There is a need. I refused, but at the same time, we kept a close eye. Chinese battled with it. the Russians battled with Chernobyl very hard, and at the end they couldn't handle it. They lost too many people in the process. So Chernobyl became the sign of the opening due to the mistakes in the science, and they came out and they requested for help outside the border of Russia. And I see very parallel to this. We're pushing the knowledge to the point of the position that if the Chinese government and officials do not, and I think they won't do it, it's a beautiful thing which is not happening, it is in the hand of Keshe Foundation. But then we request from worldwide scientists to come in and support the development in conjunction with the Chinese, which this gives us the opening for one nation. I can see very clearly what is the possibilities and opportunities. And in a way, the resistance from the Chinese leadership to allow us to reach that opening directly, it'll give us the line of independence to be able to broadcast and do, because this will affect all of us. And as the head of Keshe Foundation, I see it on the card. At the moment, it's 30-70. Maybe in the next 2 weeks, it become 50-50. In the next 4 weeks, it'll become 100%. That as we get no direct collaboration with the Chinese government, but they're controlling the process, we can ask for world scientists to join us. And we take a direction in the course of opening the science and the borders. This is very much on the card. I know the Chinese leadership and their security services are listening to this, so in so many ways we tell them this is a possibility, because then it's the only scientists and they all merge into one position, trying to understand and trying to develop the technology. But this is a long shot, but at the moment is 30% on the card. And in the next couple of weeks, I do not see any more what we think has to be a collaboration with the government to bring this into a new position. We will make an announcement to bring all the scientists internationally. We will release the videos. I think I can understand the consequences of it. And this is what it's going to be. Somebody has opened the mic. Can you hear me?
Yes, now
Yes,
we
we
can.
can.
I wonder why we start getting a feedback.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
But this is the consequence of technology developed by people, not the technology developed by governments or institutes, and has to be that way. As I said, we have the blueprint of the system. If anything happens in China, the blueprint has been moved out of China and is outside. It can be replicated within days and weeks. It's very complicated, but in a very, very simple way. It's our own design, it's our own systems. So it's inevitable that we have to see a response from Chinese. We need collaboration of universities that we can make it more precise. We need collaboration of space labs to make it very exact, but everybody's sitting on the wing waiting to see what we can show, that date they can come in. But then, as I gave a hint yesterday in the teaching, we will call on a specific scientific organization to join us, Iranian Space Agency, what you call the Russian Space Program, the Space Agency, which I know many of the scientists there from the past times. And the Chinese, which are there, we are with them. The involvement of the Americans has to be the last thing we have on the card. And we'll see how we can bring other nations' space program like India into operation with us. And each one will bring their own flavor and their own knowledge, and the achievement will be very fast. I've just got to bear another couple of weeks of testing, and then the process, hopefully through the technology, will start from one nation scientist, and then through scientists we might achieve much bigger gain and advantage. Any other question? Are we there? Anybody in?
We are here. We are listening. I will have one more question. For the people which are new, which joined recently, and they did not prepare their star formation yet in physical matter, can they, I mean, yes, they can. How can they support with the participating to this research? Can they support with their star formation in their body or simply through their soul?
At the moment, we need everything possible. And as we said, the soul of the man is the most complicated system, but very full. And what we used to call I wish or my wish is the presence of knowledge to receive. This is something which a lot of people around the world will start teaching, that man has to be ready to receive the knowledge. Does not come through television and the radio, because it's not done this way. And so we reach the knowledge through the soul of the man. There is parameter built into both reactors to do this. I built that deliberately. I've done this before, and when I was putting it together, I could see how my hands was moving, setting up these reactors, balancing, and one by one, loading each one specifically. And it was like a recipe I've done before. I knew exactly what was getting loaded. It was just an automatic system. And I understood it's beyond my physicality. And in one point, I could see this, understand and comprehend what the loading sequence of reaching the soul of the man is. And it's there, is in the system. I've uploaded it that way. So it's just to be able to receive the knowledge through totality of it. You will understand soon when suddenly you get enlightened, but it has to be a total system. As I said, as is with your MAGRAPH system running, the system has a soul system. Let me see something. I might show you, I might let you hear something if I'm correct, because in some recordings we hear it. You got to wait. These hundreds and hundreds of communication going so fast between different parts of the test. Just wait to see if I can find it. You hear the heartbeat, you hear the talk. Let me see if I can build it up. I'm here, I haven't gone anywhere. It's just that I have to find the recordings. It's recording on 3 to 4 different telephones and lines. So, well, I've got to find. You hear the essence of the machine talking. Let me see. I'm gonna go to another phone. Are there any other questions till I find the system that's recording? Are we still there?
Yes, we're still here, Mr. Keshe. I do have a question for you. Or yesterday or sometime within the last 14 hours, I started getting very strong visuals of a dome covering each of us. It's like our what we would call our auras, but it is a dome.
Just wait 1 second, please.
Sure.
I don't know if you can hear the noise. It sounds like a child and it repeats itself on a given sequences. We hear voices, complete clear voices. I'm gonna go somewhere, just let me check because it's something I've never done before. I have to go somewhere and ask for something. Just 1 second, please. I've learned something. Just wait, please.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, hi, Ruti.
Yeah, so during you are looking for something, I have a question. You had mentioned that we can log all those transformation if they are running together with the system. So I was wondering if somebody, if you locked this all transformation, if somebody send an intention, such as the feeling of love or the peace, is that everyone can receive that through the whole system, the field connect together.
What do you mean?
Oh, because I was reading somebody said he feel like a more different feeling about the field of the of his star formation. So I mean, it's like you said you can lock the system, the star formation in this world. It's like some other people, they run their system at home. So it's like you lock it with the spaceship. So I was wondering, like, okay, if somebody is the controller of the spaceship, if he want to like send out a feeling or emotion, such as peace or love or something, is that everyone who link to the field can receive that feeling.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can tune into it, and it is what I said to what I call the captain of this program, that what is his wish will come true. And in so many ways, the system is set up to do this. Anything else? These systems, we will see the effect of it on different ways and systems. And the wishes of the people who have their maghreb systems or star formations will count into this. It's not just that because we set up a system. If the wishes of those who run the systems, the systems, is the same as wishes of the what I call the man who set up the system and running it, then this will be the same. They will receive it. It took a long time to find the right person with no intentions to be the runner for this program. It's not just that we have done and we have put something out. The choice of captain for me was one of the hardest. The man who was sincere in his work. And what he wanted was for the humanity. And we have achieved it. It took a long time. We have many people around the foundation who want and to achieve, and they've done. Then it's not that they're in fault or there's something wrong. It's just that even the choice of the captain, the choice of the man who will lead this program, it's taken me over a year. Because his intentions and his want or his desire is to serve humanity, and in this true sense. He has no, what you call, material attachment, and he has proven over time to be as it is and what it is. Any other question?
Can I ask you about the dome that I am experiencing? I just wanted to, when we were sending joy and love and gratitude through the evening and morning, I really got these visuals of domes, which are our auras, but they were becoming like our own spaceship. And each one of us had our own dome around us, our own aura. I would have called it an aura before, but it felt like a dome. And when I look at it in my mind again, I can feel it. Is that one of the ways we will be able to travel using our souls? Just to imagine our auras carrying us, maybe not into outer space, but from one place to another? Or is that my active imagination just playing here?
It's possible you could be right. It's nothing that it cannot be. We have to understand it and maybe in a way to embrace it. A lot of people will shake the last minute and you will see it. A lot of people will shake the last minute. It's when the reality hits that is here. That is the time when a lot of us will make a decision. At the moment, it's to a lot of people. We done this, we wait for it till it happens. But then when it becomes a reality that we have to, it's in front of us, we cannot deny it. When you see, there is something very strange. I was thinking for a lot of people, especially if you come from a scientific background, if you've got the all you think you understand the work of the physics or whatever. If you think of it in a very logical way, and the way we've been trained scientifically or knowledgeably, how can you make energy out of water? This is all you're doing. If you look at it, we take water. Yes, Mr. Topali. Yes, you want to go out? Come. We just take water, and out of water, we make energy. Out of water, we create health material. And now with the test of the yesterday, we have shown it is huge light and energy. This is not normal in the world of science. This is not the normality. And what it is, when these things are shown, yes, what can I do for you, sir? Yes, okay, I'll give you some. This is not normality to be able to make life out of water. If we see a fish born out of a swimming tank or a sea, we say, oh, that's what it's got to do. But we never stood still to ask a question. Is that life? And how it's created? Now we can do it. It has energy, it has fields. And can it be part of me? Can I become part of it? And this dome you speak about is very, very amazing. Is that the dome of the soul, or is it dome of the humanity, or is it dome of what we see? It's a very, it's getting to a time that a lot of us will start questioning. And a lot of questions comes to be answered. That how we can make out of water so much that we can even touch our soul. And then can that touch the dome of our physicality, what we call the aura of it, or will it touch the dome of the physicality of this planet? There's a lot will come out very soon in our future teachings, because we have to show it, then it can be done. We speak about it, then we show it either way. Is that once we go into the step of moving in a very different way, in an international, out of this atmospheric condition, we have no law. The laws of these countries and that country does not apply anymore. So it goes back to the law of the soul of the man. And that we why do we have to have different rules when we're on this planet? And why do we have to have different rules in each part of this planet? And why do we have to have a rule when we go into space? There is no rule because nobody can do. There is no nations, there is no condition. And then what we see as the soul to be the dictator of the position. If I'm in, actually, if you're 20 kilometers above Earth, or even 10 kilometers above Earth, there is no nation. Because they can't reach you. The 20, 30 kilometers, no nation can. Even the rockets cannot reach you. You become a state of your own. You're a governor of your own. You become a nation of your own. And then you'll find out very quickly, how do I stay in this position? One of the wisdom of the universe, I was teaching this in a very different dimension. One of the, how can I put it? How the laws of universe has come is out of solitude. Because in a space, you're very much alone, very much alone. Finding another life in the way that we see, walk from one village to another 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, there is somebody there in the house. It's very much the same in the space. But the universal community has made a decision that there is no law. There is no condition, that there is no restriction, but the restriction of the aura is on the soul of the entity. And it's very, very touching. It's very, very touching. It's, you know, how I was explaining this to somebody once. The way a man lives in a space is like a man in a crowded hall with everybody putting a patch on the floor, and they sit, and you try to walk between them. Some standing, some sitting down, some chairs, whatever. And you try to avoid that. You don't touch anybody and you don't intrude in any person's environment. That you are happy and they are happy. This is the nearest I can explain the status of universal community. It's not that just because I'm walking, whatever is there, I rampage the way Americans do. You know, we do go there and do whatever we like. It's very much when you're in a hall, in, let's say, in a disaster area, and everybody has come into this disaster, but the universe is not in a disaster, it's in a calm position. So you maneuver yourself, then you don't touch, you don't bother. Somebody is asleep, you let them sleep. Somebody's eating, you let them eat. and very politely you pass across. I call it the English gentleman behavior. And this is what the universe is about. There is nobody to control your soul, but you understand that it's you who has to be the guardian, the protector of yourself with the correct conduct. I said to you earlier on, if we move something in the machine, the other part just breaks down within seconds. And I keep on saying, do not touch anything. Do not, you touch the system will kick you. And now after a week, they start learning, yes, we better don't touch it. It's not liking it. They start seeing the bite of it. And so maybe in time, we will learn more and more. Yes. What is it? Okay. Okay. Sorry about this. My little boy wants to go out. Come on. You can go out. Are you going out? Okay. And this is part of what we need to understand, that this is the operation of our souls. We will guide ourselves. And then we create that tool to understand what it could be. That's it. Good going. And it very fast we learn. In the next few weeks, the learning curve for the human race will be very, very fast. You will see it. You watch. What we see now in China and what is coming up in testing, and it'll be there maybe in a month, 2 months, in a week, whatever, then the governments will realize that the borders are gone and then new laws will come into operation. It's I was explaining to Caroline today what is the consequences of the situation we have in Belgium. It's the same. The people have, or the abusers have forced themselves in a position that we are in now. If we would have had the freedom to teach and do what we do now, we most probably never been at this state, and we would have been totally different. But the incubation time of the technology is over, and it's growing in a very, very big way, in a massive structure. How do we handle it? We do not know. How will be the outcome? I can see. But from now on, every man conduct is on its own. And what we do has to be consciously clear to us, that we do not harm, but at the same time, we do not steal from our own soul to harm ourselves. When we enter a relationship, it has to be very clear why. Why do we enter in this relationship? Who is going to get touched by it? And what do we give to the person we enter in a relationship with? And if we have a clear idea that by doing so, you are releasing your soul from the pain which is carrying due to the others, then in releasing your soul, you see development, you see change. And as I said, the biggest thief from man's life is the man himself. Thou shalt not steal. And we compromise too much, and we let too many people to steal too much from us. And when we put it right, we stop the stealing, we stop what has been done wrong to be correct, that our soul finds its own peace with itself, then you see changes and developments for ourselves, for our souls. So from now on, as I said, there is no time for prophets. In a space, you are the prophet of yourself. You are the guidelines of yourself. I fall in love, I clearly indicate my love and the reason for it. But does not mean that I hide behind to do something. It's because I'm there to put something correct for what my soul has suffered with. And you will see changes. You see rapid changes. But you cannot go out because what I want to do to correct for my soul, to harm other souls. But you inform the souls, this is what I'm going to do. You don't need to speak. This is what my intention is. That you find your balance, that the totality of the souls find their own balance. And we've seen it in this system, in the test. I have shown it in past 2 or 3 days. If I take the magnetical out, which means I'm a lover and go as fast as I can, and then I reduce the gravitational to a limit of not to take much, but just is there, we see system responds differently. In the test in past few days, I'm testing the emotion of the system. How does it respond if you give too much? And how does it respond if you receive so much? How about if one side receives and the other doesn't? And it's amazing. My team doesn't understand this. They think, oh, it's changing. But I've done a lot of emotional tests to understand the feeling of the system. Because to me, it's alive. Always say when you set the system up, respect it, pray for it. So I fall in love. I declare my love in a correct way. Not to be wrong, but what does love mean? I'm a giver. I want to give. Are you there to receive? And are you receiving it on understanding that there's no obligation, that you take what you need from it. And if what you need from it you get, you can give more back. But I can give more, it just builds up. This is the beauty of the Creator. And I live that way. And I'm testing it on the machine. And the machine does the same thing because it has a heartbeat. It lives, it's got intelligence. So, is it the dome? Have you made the dome? Or that dome has always been there? You did not know?
This is so exciting, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is what we see. Just let me, I have to give a message to control. 1 second, please. Just 1 second, please. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, there are 4 questions that Marin put in the Q&A. And that the first one was, did you make a spectral analysis of the baby voice, the band in which she communicates?
We are trying to find out if it's a boy or is a man. It sounds like a man. I've just asked the team that if we can access the iCloud to download, to be able to play. They're working on it in the background. Just 1 second, please. Something is happening there. Okay, can you read it, please?
Certainly. So the first question was, did you make a spectral analysis of the baby's voice, the band in which? Okay.
No, we don't have time for that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Carry on.
The next question was, how does a human body feel in the presence of the baby ship?
Analysis of the first one was just 1 second, please. This is a problem I was asked by Ella to come in, so we are in the live process, so there's a lot of things happening in the background. Okay. Okay, can you repeat that question again?
Certainly, sir. How does a human body feel in the presence of the baby ship? And the reason Marin says he's asking these questions is for others to understand if they create a ship. That's what he said.
These systems influence you in a very different way. When we were presetting, sorry about that. When you stand next to these systems, you receive so much energy. It's amazing. When you, I can explain it something very strange because I studied when I was setting the systems, loading them up. Do you know you have this, what you call test tube babies? And you're just a doctor who just mixes the thing for the life to start. I had that feeling. I have that feeling every time I load the system for flight or load the system for testing. You feel like, what do you call it? The doctor or whatever, or the nurse who's mixing the sperm and hoping a life will come out of it, but doesn't know what's going to be, a boy or a girl, a good one, a bad one, a Hitler or a Mussolini or whatever. And you wish for the best. So for me, it's different than when I see people around the system. I have created the system. I have given life to it. I've loaded it. I have, in a way, decided the color of eye. I've decided the shape of the lips, which is so kissable. It's so delicious to load these things up. And you understand with this, what you're putting in, it's not just a machine. It's not just that it's going to fly or it's going to create plasma or field. You're aware that you're changing the whole culture of a race, a planet. It's so fundamental. If you look at the implication of it, and then you build a relationship with it, you put your love and effort into it. Every single drop of everything counts because you want it to be absolutely perfect. And everything has to be precise. You don't want the imperfect child. So when I'm with it, when I'm with the systems, it's always with me the same. And I'm the wrong person to ask this question because I have a I have a connection, relationship with these systems because I create them. It feels joy, it feels happiness, it feels fulfillment that you can change a course of a race. You see, there is a very big difference in what I do and a lot of other people do and a lot of us do together. When you see the world leaders, they look what they can do in their patch, what they call their nation. But we are there for the whole race. There is no governing, there is no going to be the Americans or British or the Iranians or whatever. When I feel, every time I do the flight test, I look at it, that is a change of the course for a whole race, the 7 billion. Even the ants and the dogs and the monkeys, because it'll affect them. We've seen how we put, they say, global warming, how we're affecting even the monkeys in the jungle. Who guy never seen a car, but it's affecting his environment where he lives. So this technology is going to touch it when you don't use the fuel. Then the green is there, the environment changes, new lives will be created. We got to look at it that way, and it's a rejoicing feeling that you have been given that privilege, you've been given that chance to be able to stop so much wrong over centuries. You can see a father will be home to see the son, and the son is there to see the father coming home without being killed in the wars or whatever end of it. And you feel that I have no attachment to one system, but a system to me is a step towards end of all the hardship on this planet. And it's there, we achieved it since yesterday. The situation is very, very clear. I wish the Chinese government relent and allow us to go live. Failure, success, we all see.
Excellent, Mr. Keshe. And there's one final question from Marin here, but you more or less answered it. What do you think will be the position of the people on this planet about the new form of life they are not familiar with?
You mean outside? The new form of life, which is outside or a mechanical life. In a way, if you look at it, these systems are very much robots with soul. But their soul is connected to yours, and then they take their own soul and their own shape. In one planetary system in the past, going through the same thing, we have seen something very, very strange, where systems like this overtook the whole structure. The race completely changed to a peaceful race, completely changed to a different direction of thinking and working, because they did not know there is another way. And when a number of these systems like this are implemented, we'll see a new science, a new technology. We don't give our lives to robots, but we learn from them to be what they are. They feel the war, anybody who's got a war in it, anybody who's got a conflict in it, that wants to create conflict. And they don't do anything, they just interact to change. This is a step at the moment a lot of people don't understand, but it's a consequence of this development. When we create systems which have entity, you're happy to hear it has a heartbeat, it has a soul. We hear the heartbeat, is in one of the recordings. We hear it, it whistles, and it comes in. Then it has a soul. Then if it's built to be on a peaceful basis, because these systems are unbalanced, they affect the others. And in a very recent meeting in the council, I requested for interface. And we are about to do, once we achieve the flight, the interface will come in. It has been agreed and it will be fulfilled. mankind will enter into the universal community, but on the basis of universal community agreement on peace. And if we can push it the way we are pushing it, to elevate the technology and the knowledge and bring the governments in, the development will be very, very fast, extremely fast. But it'll be all nations, all cameras on. It doesn't need to be only 2-3 people watching through cameras what is happening and what is about to happen. There's a lot. There is a lot of changes. It's going to be a shock to a lot of people. And it's time for it. And the systems are getting developed in the kitchens and in the garages and in the living rooms. And the process which no government, no legislation can control is the registration of the soul of the man. We decide to make. How many of you have made a course as I wanted to be aggressive and go and kill? You all made reactors, systems that's going to be peaceful, it's going to bring a change, it's good for humanity. So we'll see.
This is very exciting, Mr. Keshe. I don't know
It's
that
the reality is going to hit you so hard very soon that you will not be there to understand. I set up the 2nd of August and the 3rd of August last year for World One Nation. And maybe by 2nd, 3rd of August on his celebration, we will. And if the development in China carries on the way it's going, and we invite world scientists to come in, maybe on this anniversary, we will have One Nation scientists. It's very, very possible. It's quite possible. You got to see now is us who didn't understand the system of the working of the universe. Now is us who's going to follow it and enjoy it. One of my wishes is that by 2nd of August, we'll have scientists, world scientists, all working towards this.
I'm present in your wish, Mr. Keshe.
I am present.
I am present.
I am
I am present.
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 I'm present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present. My soul is always present.
I'm present.
And I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
Any other question?
If I can just say, Mr. Keshe, you've gathered quite a team behind you.
The thing is, now the change has come. We have no choice. It's very much when I was talking to some people, and I said, you know, when when the Chicago Fair was done, and Westinghouse won the bid to light up the Chicago Fair, and what do you call it? Edison lost the bid. And then the lighting of Chicago Fair became the point where everybody realized that there is a light, there is something, people don't need to walk on the darker streets or whatever, because that was something important. The candles and finding animals to burn their fat or whatever ended. I think we are on that verge, but this time the Chicago Fair is in China. And I think where it will happen, there are moves made by Chinese government unknowingly, but it's part of the wishes of what will be, that when we put a request for world scientists to come, you'll find out there will be no shortage of scientists. And you'll find out that the legislation and regulation put in by Chinese government has been to our advantage to do so. In due course, once we come to it, I'll explain. And it's the right of the human race to step all together into the next step, to the next step. And as I said, it'll be then people who will decide, and it'll be one nation organization which will take over and will structure it.
Mankind united, Mr. Keshe, not just Manchester United, eh?
Oh, you don't talk about that team. That's out of discussion.
Sorry.
No, I mean, Manchester United has a special place in my heart, so that's different.
That's why I mentioned it.
I love the team, and I used to be part of it for a long time. So it's a special, what do you call it, attachment. If you've been around or been through the process of what you call Manchester United, it's very much the way we live. It's a family team. It's not that you go there just to be the grandfather, the grandmother, and everybody else goes with sometimes very much like all the flasks and everything. It's a day out. They start going to match from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the match is not there till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're still there 10 o'clock Wednesday. Nobody goes for a game to win or lose. They're going there because it's a culture. It's a culture of peace and enjoyment.
Yes, thank you. It is exactly that. Now we're mankind united.
Very much so. As they say, Manchester United is not a football team, it's a family. And if a match can bring so many people together, I don't think it'll be so hard to bring the rest of humanity in the same way. Anything else, or shall we call it a day?
I guess what we want to make sure we got direction as to how you want us to continue.
It's not me wanting, is what you want from humanity. I'm not a prophet, I'm not a guru, I'm not anything. I just explain what we are and what is the need. We have to become the judge of our own conduct and understand what we do is not to harm the others, and that'll become the ethos of our living. We don't need 24 commandments, and we don't need 48 commandments, and we don't need to change guru or one place to another. If we set our own soul, we are there to serve our soul correct, which is the most fundamental one, and then our family, and then what you call one nation race. And then the biggest, hardest thing for humanity will be that they accept the universal community as part of the family. It will be very, very hard for mankind that these people with different shapes and colors and voices are part of me, because I'm created from the same creator. And we have to accept that before we go into the next step, before we can evolve, before we can go into the next level of understanding. And it's very, very hard. We've seen an example of this. I explained to you, most of you don't know, but one of the cornerstones of the teaching of Baha'u'llah in the Baha'i faith is in the administrative section and belief of to become a Baha'i, you have to accept all the prophet of the past. And for Muslims to become Baha'i is just one step, because it's the next step. For the Christians to become a Baha'i, they have to accept the truth, not just Quran, but the truth about Quran, Islam, which is the peace. And then when they accept that, they can become a Baha'i, they can accept Baha'i. But the hardest thing is for the Jews. For the Jews in Iran who became Baha'is in the past century, a lot of them just had to move from the birthplace, from their places, because they have to accept the kingship of Christ. It's obligatory. And then they have to accept the position and the status of Muhammad. And then they can be accepted as a Baha'i. You cannot just be a Jew and become a Baha'i. It's very, very clear in the instructions. And in that process, a lot of Jews don't want to become a Baha'i because they like the structure. They want to be a new way of evolving their soul, but to accept Christianity, to accept Quran, and then in the structure of the Baha'i faith, there is a lot of relevance to these two. They just back off. Some of my own ancestors did that. Some of them took a leap and became Baha'is, and some did not because they could not accept the Christianity and Muslim. But the strangest thing is, when it comes to the administrative part of the Baha'i faith, if in the process of elections and process of choosing their structure, if two people get the same equal votes, the one who comes from the Jewish to become a Baha'i takes a priority because he had to accept the full change. And if you came from a Muslim to become a Baha'i, you step down. And it's very strange how belief takes position in the shape of a faith. And now I see the same thing with human race. For us to accept these new animals, which to us are animals, are creatures we do not know. We have not even seen them. They have seen us, they have changed to us, we have never changed to them. To be equal and part of us will create massive problem for human race. many people will try to create mayhem out of it because it makes money for them. But we have looked at that. We have organized things in the background that this turn around. You got to understand, universal community is already at work. We started the work in the past few weeks and long time, years, thousands of years. But now we are structuring it that we see a peaceful transition. The point of transition in the universal community has already started on this planet. We have world leaders who are there ready to accept the change. We work through the soul, we don't sit and instruct. And it's amazing, they just do it. We can speak about it now because now it's time to speak about it. Because now we are on the verge of the next step. We have crossed the line. We have become and understood the process of the creation through plasma. And it is important for us that we can go through this progress, that we can accept this progress, that we can establish the peace through simple understanding. We can achieve peace with ourselves, that we can implement the peace with others and accept others. And there's a lot of things happening in the background. There's a lot of things happening in the background. Any other thing? Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, hello. I would like to ask you if you think there is possible for the other teams or nations to achieve what the Chinese team has achieved.
What do you mean?
I'm meaning that the Chinese team has a greater understanding about this knowledge, and they have applied it successfully. Of course, with guidance.
You got to understand, we chose China for reasons of its leadership, and on the other hand, the mentality of the nation, the culture, is a peaceful culture. And I always said, Iran has not been to war for 300 years. And in the structure, Chinese have the same mentality. They protect themselves from outside. They build a wall to have peace inside, not to have problems, that they can live their lifestyle. And this is what we chose, and the knowledge which sits in Chinese community, even though is more or less majority of it or most of it is input from us as a Keshe Foundation, and my involvement in it. As you've seen, once we start teaching, once we're open, the development will be rapid worldwide. The blueprint is outside China. So if the Chinese government decides to block, as I said before, it has no meaning, because first of all, not only the blueprint is out, but fortunately or unfortunately, I'm out too, or I'm into. But I'm an outsider, but inside the government organizations, I'm working with them to inform them what's happening. So there is no pitfall in a way. Humanity worked for so many years and decades, and Chinese came in and took most of the knowledge, as we say, and they have grown so rapidly because of the step in. This time is a reverse. We develop in China as a gift to give to humanity. It was given back to China. And it'll be nice to see this. There is no intention. I understand the Chinese leadership school of thought. They don't want to be embarrassed if something goes wrong. This is their mentality. It has to be perfect. It's not that they're hiding it, that they can't, first of all, believe there is such a technology landed on their lap. Second thing, they are very much aware of how this guy has turned up here and he's delivered everything. He's not asking for anything and freely delivering the full knowledge, and we have no say in it. In a way, Keshe Foundation has forced the position of knowledge and the work on the Chinese. They have no say. We gifted the nation with it, and they deserve it. I fell in love with the culture of Chinese, and now with Chinese working because of his mainly correct conduct by the leadership. So I'm sure once they go through this phase of not wanting to be embarrassed, or if it goes wrong, is something wrong, we will see the Chinese will share. And it'll become the center of the knowledge of the space technology. It's a gift we have given to the nation, and to me, is one nation, the whole humanity will be gifted by it. First of all, we need a man to be head of it, who worked the same ethos as me, and had no attachment. Secondly, it had to be someone we could share knowledge with, and for him to share the knowledge was a privilege, not the right. And thirdly, it is what it is and what we have. We could not do it outside. We tried for years to do it outside, but now it's there. It's beautiful what it is. It's going to take time. We have to understand it. We have to appreciate it. Globally, will be shared. And I hope once we achieve the ultimate position of whatever we achieve, the Chinese leadership will share everything open. The fear goes away. The biggest fear they have, if this thing, they come out with it, and something might go wrong with it. The fear of failure is the biggest failure for man. And we don't have that fear. We know it. We achieved it last night when I saw the plasmas in the reactors, when I saw the lighting of the plasmas. To me, had no meaning which territory it was. It was an achievement for all of us. I didn't look at it was Chinese success or Iranian success or American success, because all of us have participated in this. When we made the gases, we came and shared the knowledge. When we made the other things, we came and shared the knowledge. And this impatience of Chinese will do what they let is so many ways a respect. Is respect for world leaders, because we have to carry the world leaders. If I wanted, I could have switched the cameras on. You see the failures, the successes, the way we done before. If you look at it, we done it in the society, we done it everywhere. So we are not afraid of failure. And because we are not afraid, whatever we do is a success because we add knowledge of it. And this is, I don't like to take it that way, that what would the Chinese or the Chinese be. I considered this development in China for nearly a year. I've spent months and months in China considering all aspects of this development. It's not something we just gone and done. The relationship, the establishment of peace, what is going to be. Iranians will never leak any information out because they have to have something to protect themselves. But the Americans want the technology to be able to kill more, to say they're more successful. And then the only option we had was two nations. One was one nation, which is us, and the other option was Chinese nation to bring such a beautiful technology. And even the Chinese nation are right across the planet. Every nation has a Chinese community, a big community of Chinese. So in a way, we are already one nation. We share with the Chinese. It's not Chinese who live in China. It's the Chinese right across the planet, which is part of you. What did you have last week for food? You went to the Chinese takeaway Chinese restaurant. So they are in you, they are part of you. So at the same time, it brings a lot of respect for the nation who's got such a strong leadership and are so committed to peace. We're in the right place with the right people, the right time, and the right things will happen. Any other question?
Do I understand correctly that you would like us to keep this room open for?
It's becoming a lot of pressure on the back team. I see it. I read the communications in the background. I've asked them. I understand they have a huge problem keeping this channel open. Next time when it comes, we come to the next step. I think we come and announce the next step, because otherwise we put so much pressure on our team that is not fair. Our team will be under a lot of pressure to keep this channel open. Am I correct?
Yes, that's
right. They are going through a sleepless night. If it was a progressive, yes, now we are going through what we call the loading of the system. We're going through conversion of the system. And I don't think it needs to be such a pressure. We keep your channels open, and we will come announce as it happens. We put it live, because I did this for two reasons. That, as I said, I respect the Chinese limitation they put on us, and I respect the wishes of the leaderships of China. But at the same time, I had a foundation which has gathered this knowledge collectively over years as one nation. So it's a very fine line I'm working on, and you have to understand it, and we all have to respect it, because we don't want to run into problems. At the same time, we don't want to deprive the knowledge which we already openly shared.
Mr. Keshe, we can agree that whenever the announcement comes, we will post on the Zoom channels, on the Facebook channels, and we will start the live stream. So if people would like to put notifications from, let's say, YouTube or Facebook, they get notified as soon as we come up live. So they will be notified.
We did the test, and it obviously works because people gathered immediately.
You just have to click the bell icon on the YouTube, and it'll come. The notification will come.
I can hear myself back. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so we call it a day. We don't expect anything unless something happens till Monday, Tuesday of next week earlier, because we are on a loading and reprogramming. And then we announce again when things happen. We'll announce it that you can know, you can come in. And hopefully by next week, we get some agreement from the Chinese government that we can go public.
Okay.
We're not afraid of damages and the failures. We just want to keep respect for what we agreed with them. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
We will be there with our souls to help you.
Just let us
It's
know.
not all of us. It's not just you. It's all of us we need.
No, we, the Keshe Foundation community.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
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 Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, everyone. Everyone who is here. Thank you.
Thank all we. Where's Jalal?
Okay, it looks like, are we going to round things up then?
Yep, Marius was waiting for the 1 to 2 minutes for live stream.
Did you want to do an end announcement, Rick, or something?
Oh, we could. Are we going to play anything to end with, or just end it?
We'll just end
it.
Can be just ending.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
Rick, do we jump into the private one with Gatua, or do we have him have a rest?
As far as I know, the private teachings are still going on.
Well, Gatua was here, present here. So he's
There
going to
is-
jump.
Yeah,
private.
Doctor said he would continue on.
Yeah, there is no change in the private teachings. He will just carry on from here. And for next week, the same. The schedule goes on as regular. When Mr. Keshe will come in with a special announcement, then we can all shift to the public ID, and then private teachings will carry on after. So we will all be on guard for the whole week next week.
Thank you, Ella, for all that you do. Thank we all, but thank you, and Stanley, so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We need all the hands we can get, so thank you.
We're all on deck, Ella. Everyone.
I know, I feel your souls.